Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into an incredible story, a chain of events that kicked off with a seemingly small issue with pirates and, believe it or not, ended with Rome completely taking over Greece.
So let's start with a really simple question, right? How did a fight over some pirates?
How on earth did that lead to the complete downfall of the Greek world? We're going to trace this incredible 85-year chain reaction, this domino effect that saw Rome just methodically take apart the massive kingdoms that Alexander the Great had left behind. All right, so let's start at the beginning. You gotta understand, this story doesn't kick off with some grand Roman master plan to conquer the world. Not at all. It starts with a much more down-to-earth problem: pirates. So, back in the 230s BC, you've got these Illyrian pirates, led by a queen named Tuda, and they are just causing havoc for Roman merchants. Rome, they tried to be reasonable, they sent diplomats, but things went south fast. One of their envoys gets murdered. And that was a mistake. Rome unleashes the lead-ins, and within a decade, they've smashed the Illyrians twice. But the real story, the real consequence, was about to ripple out way beyond this little corner of the sea. Now here's where it gets interesting. After winning, the Romans don't just occupy Illyria. Nope. They do something much smarter, much more Roman. They impose what they called amicizia, which literally means friendship. Sounds nice, right? Well, friendship in Roman terms meant you were now a client state. You were friends, sure, but you also had obligations to your very powerful new friend in Rome. And clack, that's the first domino tipping over. This defeated guy, Demetrius of Pharos, he escapes. And where does he run? Straight to the court of the biggest powerhouse in the region, King Philip V of Macedon. And he doesn't just show up empty-handed. He brings with him this burning hatred for Rome. All of a sudden, what started as a squabble over pirates has put Rome on a direct collision course with a genuine superpower. So Rome's little adventure in Illyria, it just got the attention of the real heavyweight champion of the neighborhood, Macedon. Remember, Rome had just finished its life or death struggle with Hannibal and Carthage. So now they're battle-hardened, they're confident, and frankly, they're a little vengeful towards Philip for siding with Hannibal. They send in one of their best guys, a commander named Flamininus, who, interestingly, was a huge fan of Greek culture. So the stage is set for this epic showdown at a place called Cynocephalae. And to understand why Rome won, you have to look at the tech of their armies. Think of the Macedonian phalanx as this massive, powerful, but rigid mainframe computer. It's an unstoppable wall of pikes, as long as it's on a perfectly flat surface. The Roman legion, though, it's more like a network of smaller, independent servers. These flexible units called maniples could move and adapt, and that adaptability was absolutely deadly on the rough, hilly ground where they were about to fight. And that's exactly what happened. On those uneven hills, little gaps started to open up in that big, rigid phalanx, and some brilliant, unnamed Roman tribune on the ground saw his opening. He grabs a handful of units, wheels him around, and just slams into the back of the phalanx. It was this split-second genius move that completely shattered the formation, and with it, the whole idea that the phalanx was unbeatable. But this next part, this is pure Roman genius. Not with a sword, but with words. After the battle, Flamininus goes to the Isthmian Games. Think of it as the ancient Olympics. He gets up in front of this massive crowd of Greeks and makes this incredible announcement. He declares all the Greeks are now free. No garrisons, no tribute. The place just goes wild. In one move, Rome isn't a conqueror. Oh no, they're the liberators. Okay, so with Macedon humbled, there's suddenly this huge power vacuum in the Greek world. And nature, as they say, abhors a vacuum. Another one of Alexander the Great's giant successor states, the Seleucid Empire from the east, looks over and thinks, maybe we can fill that space. And wouldn't you know it, some of Rome's own Greek allies, the Aetolian League, get a little grumpy. They feel like they didn't get enough credit, so they do something really foolish. They invite King Antiochus the Great to come liberate Greece from its liberators. Talk about a bad move. Antiochus totally misjudges the situation. The Romans corner him at the famous pass of Thermopylae, and then, just to finish the job, they march into his own territory and absolutely crush his main army at the Battle of Magnesia. And there it is. The second huge domino tips over. In just a few years, Rome has taken down the two most powerful kingdoms that came after Alexander the Great. Now there's literally no one left in the Eastern Mediterranean who can challenge them. They're not just players in the game anymore, they are the game. So, the big kings are out of the picture. But for the liberated Greeks, they're about to find out what Roman friendship really means. The friendly liberator mask is about to slip. There's one final attempt at defiance. Philip's son, King Perseus, tries to revive Macedonian power. But it's like a bad rerun. At the Battle of Pydna, it's the same story. Uneven ground, flexible legion, shattered phalanx. Only this time, Rome isn't in a good mood. There's no mercy. They don't just defeat the kingdom, they wipe it off the map, forever. And what happened next shows you just how much Rome had changed. The liberator is gone. To punish cities that sided with Macedon, the Romans go on a rampage. They sack 70 cities. And look at this number. They enslave 150,000 people. This isn't just a punishment. This is state-sponsored terror on a scale that's hard to even imagine. Any last shred of hope for Greek freedom just evaporates in 146 BC. A league of Greek cities makes one last desperate stand. The Roman response? It was absolute. They smash the Greek army, march on the rich, ancient city of Corinth, and make a horrifying example of it. They kill all the men. They sell the women and children into slavery. And then they burn the entire city to the ground. The message couldn't have been clearer. Defy us, and you will cease to exist. And that's it. By 146 BC, the game is over. All the dominoes have fallen. In less than 100 years, what was once a world of proud, bickering Greek kingdoms has become just another quiet, well-behaved Roman province.
The Roman historian Tacitus, looking back on this kind of conquest, said it best. It's a truly chilling line. They make a desert, and they call it peace. It just perfectly captures the brutal reality behind the so-called Roman peace. And the historian Mary Beard really hits on why this story still matters so much today. She said there's a little bit of the Romans in the head of every one of us. And it's true. The playbook Rome wrote, that mix of soft power, hard power, client states, and then brutal punishment, it literally became the blueprint for how to build an empire, one that people have been studying ever since. So that's what we're left with. It all started with a simple mission to stop some pirates, and it ended in total domination. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Does an empire ever truly happen by accident? Or is it just a series of reactions, one domino tipping over the next until there's nothing left to fall?